in neuroscience is that affect, like emotions and cognition, are actually not separate things. They're not two things. We think about it that way, given Descartes and all the past history of philosophers who tried to pull out thinking from feeling. But actually, our thoughts and our emotions are really just two ways to look at mental processes that are actually the same complex processes. So I mean, really, it's almost neurobiologically impossible for the brain to learn anything, to remember things that we don't have any emotion about. So the thing is, in school, when we don't have enough emotion about ideas, the concepts, what it feels like to understand or think deeply about something, the curiosity, the interest in things, then we put grades and other kinds of, other kinds of outcome measures onto the learning, so that people have to have an emotion about it, because now the emotion is about the grade or about getting in trouble or about flunking or getting an A, whatever getting an excellent grade or a poor grade, it doesn't matter. What we're doing actually is shaping the emotional response of the child to care about the outcome or the result, because the work itself isn't interesting enough and isn't involved enough with the child, right? So really what we need to think about in education is how we reshape the ways we design lessons and experiences so that kids can actually get engaged with the material itself, thinking about the mathematical ideas, the scientific ideas, the literature, the arts, the music, whatever it is that they're studying at that moment. It's in engaging with those ideas that will shape memory for those ideas. If we engage them in, emotions about results and outcomes and scores, what we get is memory for results and outcomes and scores, which does not transfer well. It doesn't lead to deep learning or interest in the subject matter. And it also produces a kind of extrinsically motivated child, right? A person who's expecting somebody to give you something for you to learn, rather than being driven by curiosity and a desire to engage in interesting things and to change the world.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, how did you come to be invested in the neuroscience of emotion?
Yeah. Well, so, there's a long answer and a short answer. I mean, I think once I started, well, first of all, I am a person, right? So I experienced all kinds of emotions in school as a child growing up, most of them not very happy ones. And the things that, as I sort of grew up, I went off into the world and started to, I studied in France for a while in high school. I went to lycée in Thionville, and I did, many different kinds of things around the world, in Kenya and in Russia and Ireland and stuff, and just was very, very interested in how people think and feel together, how we build knowledge together. And so then when I didn't mean to become a teacher, but I accidentally almost did, because long story, but I ended up needing a job and was able to do teaching. And I thought, oh, I don't really want to be in school. Like, I don't really enjoy school. But when I got into school, I realized that the kids' own emotions about their relationships, about what they were seeing in the world. I was teaching in a middle school, junior, senior high school. So like age 11 or 12 to 18, basically. In a big school south of Boston, where there was a lot of immigration, and it was during a time of a lot of civil unrest around the world. The Rwandan genocide had just happened, a bunch of different things like that, and there were people coming into that place, immigrating as refugees from all over the world, and these kids were mixing together in the school, and I could just see them trying to use the science I was teaching them to, like, trying to make sense of who they are, why they look different than the other kid or eat different food than the other kid. Like, what does all that mean? And I became really interested in understanding how it is that their relationships and their own ways of making meaning were so foundational to how they felt in school and how they engaged with the science. And so I went back to graduate school at Harvard to study that. And as I went and studied what kids and teachers are doing, right, I was really interested in the ways in which they make sense out of what they're doing. Why do they think they're doing the things they do? And the why is always emotional. It's always something that has to do with, something you care about. So I mean, I think it's just very, it's really very fundamental to the way human beings think and learn together. And so I've always been interested in it in that sense.
Okay, this is so interesting. And could you tell the story of Phineas Gage to my listeners to help them better understand the importance of a prefrontal cortex?